Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of The Real Podcasters, the show where we talk all things movies, TV shows, video games and a whole bunch of other stuff in no particular order. My name is Regan, my voice is kind of working today so I can actually work with this, and I'm joined by my slightly healthier compared to me co-host Dan.
Slightly is a bit of a long shot because I'm probably just as bad as you in some ways because my hay fever has been all over the place today. I literally look like I've had an allergic reaction. So, I don't know. But yes, we are here with episode 22. We're going to be delving into Thor, Love and Thunder, spoiler edition, because we've both seen it, surprisingly. Because it's usually in the case of previous episodes where either I've seen the film first or you've seen the film first, then I have to wait for you or you have to wait for me, or, you know. But we actually saw it within the same sort of week.
Yeah, it was literally, I think you were the Thursday, I was the Friday, so
Yep.
we planned for this one slightly better, so we will do spoiler-free for a little bit beforehand, but then we will delve into spoilers. As ever, there are time codes in the description if you don't want to be spoiled. And as ever, we'll be breaking down our watch list for the week, which will probably include a couple of video games as well, because we like doing that. And we've got a bunch of news to talk about, stuff such as, I don't know, Captain America, Halloween, Rockstar being idiots again, and a whole bunch of other things. But we're going to kick things off. I think this was earlier in the week. We were kicking things off with the passing of James Caan,
Yep.
aged 82. This seemed really sudden, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. I remember just seeing it through various film sites that I follow, and I thought, all of a sudden, very sad. I mean, I don't really know him from too much, but I've seen a few of his films.
I've only seen Elf and both Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs films. The second one literally like a week or two ago. So that's I also didn't realize that he was apparently in The Godfather as well. And that's
I
been on
wouldn't
my list
honestly
for this
know
year as
because
well.
I haven't watched it.
I haven't either. One day I will. I promise at some point this year. And I think after this, I'm definitely gonna have to. I wouldn't care. I've even got Misery behind us as well, which is one that I wanted to watch for a
Misery's
while.
probably what I know him from, more or less.
Yeah. But yeah, rest in peace, James Caan. Absolutely terrific actor, even from like the few things I knew him from. I'm definitely going to get through as much of his filmography as I can. Next up, we've got finally got some extra details on both Avatar: The Way of Water and a few other bits about the other sequels that we're getting. I'm going to kick things off with who Sigourney Weaver's playing. Now, I'm pretty certain you said you haven't seen the first Avatar yet, have you?
Nope, still haven't.
Still haven't, right. Well, Sigourney Weaver played Grace Augustine in that film, but she dies at the end. So
Spoiler.
the fact that she's the fact that she's in this one is quite surprising, because then you're like, well, okay, so they're just bringing a character back or whatever. No, what they're actually doing is, I'm gonna say it a little bit creepy. She's actually playing one of Sam Worthington's characters, Avatar kids, who you do see in the trailer at one point. She's the one, I think it's like the first shot you see of one of the little Na'vi kids swimming underwater and then
Right.
smiling at something off camera. That's her.
Yeah.
And she's like 12, 13 probably. So suddenly we're getting like a 12 or 13-year-old blue Sigourney Weaver.
I mean, she's got to do something different, I mean, she's done fighting aliens, clearly.
Suddenly it'd be quite funny if she rocked up and she was just a xenomorph with like Sigourney Weaver's head.
Okay, well, that is
dun,
a
dun, dun.
terrifying thought.
I mean, it's certainly not the most hideous thing in the Alien franchise. Resurrection! I didn't say that. Sorry, Tourette. Ill.
Yeah, I think the majority of the world would probably agree with that.
That's fine because I do too. It's the one time I actually agree with people. It's okay. We also got details on Stephen Lang's antagonist Quaritch, again, also in the first film, again, also killed. Again, just spoilers. Sorry, I just kind of resist. But also, it's a film from 2009. Like, for Christ's sake, man, Dan.
Does it
You
look
should know these things by now.
2009?
I'll let you know in December. Because YouTube compression doesn't say a word on visual effects anymore. Yeah, so he dies as a human in the last film. We do see him in this trailer, and he's one of the... Well, he's in an Avatar body as well. It's also weird that they announced that he's going to be in all the sequels, so I'm just like, okay, is he just going to come in about halfway through and just cause a little bit of chaos and then run away at the end, up until Avatar 5? Because that doesn't seem very, very interesting. Plus, he's not the most interesting antagonist on the planet either. He's pretty generic, if I'm completely honest.
Alright.
Despite Stephen Lang being as awesome as he is. And this last bit was quite weird. Despite the fact that I thought they'd filmed all these things, like they shot them all like back to back and stuff, James Cameron isn't actually sure if he's going to direct Avatar 4 and 5 now.
Yeah, I saw that on an article that he was sort of unsure whether he wanted to or not, or whether he was going to hand it to somebody else. I mean, I don't know. I mean, how do you feel about that?
I mean, it's... Considering the amount of time and effort he's put into these things, I mean, he literally came up with the ideas for Avatar in the 90s. Like, it's very much his thing.
Yeah.
So I think the idea of putting it over to someone else, I think you'd only do if there was a legitimate reason or if you'd gotten bored. But it wouldn't be the first time that he's done that, because with Alita Battle Angel back in 2019, that was done by Robert Rodriguez. It was supposed to be James Cameron for years. Like, he'd bought the rights specifically to do that. And then by the end, he was like, oh, I'm still working on Avatar. I'll give it to someone else so we can actually get this film out. And that film's actually pretty good, actually. I quite enjoy it. Though then, that does mean that Cameron hasn't actually directed a single film since the first Avatar. So this is like one of like the longest, like,
Quite a gap.
pauses
Yeah.
in between. Yeah, it's like literally maybe 13, 14 years. That's pretty nuts, to be honest, when I can say it out loud. But yeah, it wouldn't shock me if he does end up doing that. But at the same time, I can't think of anyone else who could do it, because it would have to be what's basically known as like a proxy director. They've got no personality or like heart to it at all. They're literally just there just to get it,
Just get it done.
out there, really. And I can definitely say that first film definitely has personality, even if most of it is in the world building and the visuals. But I don't know. I mean, this is like assuming that Avatar: Way of Water is actually going to be any good. It might not be. It might be utter rubbish. Especially when people keep on like kicking off online at the first film as if it's like one of the worst films ever made. I'm like, you're just seeing that at this rate. But there we are. Next up, I didn't really keep up on this for like a few reasons, but apparently we got our first look at Namor the Submariner, otherwise known as Marvel's answer to Aquaman, in the upcoming Black Panther 2. Did you see this?
Yes, and I know somewhat about the character because I've read a few of the mystery comics that he's featured in. But yeah, it's I like it how you said it was basically Marvel's answer to Aquaman, because it basically is.
I mean, I don't know who came first. I'm assuming Aquaman came first, but then
I have no clue, to be honest. I mean, the both of these franchises, in terms of comics, have been going on for years. Years and years and years. I mean, like, take for example, one of the mystery comics I read was from 1940. So,
I mean, I'm pretty certain he wasn't in there, but there we go. Now, this still hasn't actually been confirmed, even though there has been leaked promo art about this. So he's going to be, well, if it is actually Namor the Submariner, then he is going to be played by Tino Huerta, who's best known for roles in Days of Grace, that Narcos TV series. I think it's on Netflix.
yeah.
And the most recent Purge film, I think it's called The Forever Purge, whatever that means.
Still need to watch those two new Purge films.
I've seen the first two, and I thought the second one was better, if only because
Didn't
it
like the
actually
first
leaned
one.
into the good
First
premise
one was
of
a bit too bland for my liking. I liked the second one, which I think was Anarchy. The other ones I haven't really bothered with as of yet. I'll eventually get to them, but Yeah, it's fine.
Nah, I didn't care. Now, I mean, I don't even know if this is even meant to be like a really popular character to begin with. I mean, they've never appeared in any other big like Marvel film. I think there was like a reference to him maybe in Iron Man 2, and I think there was a throwaway line in Avengers Endgame about an earthquake under the ocean when Black Widow's talking to some people on the
Yeah.
hologram thing. Um, Apparently that's meant to be a reference to that. I was like, is it though? Like,
You see, I would kind of hope that there would be reference to it where it just doesn't do an Eternals, where we just get introduced to characters that we know absolutely bog shit all about and quite frankly don't care. So hopefully they don't make that mistake of let's use a character that we've not used in any MCU film and let's just bang a film out.
yeah, I mean, I think as well, considering that Aquaman got his film first, I think that basically means that we're never gonna get a Namor film because then it's just gonna it's gonna look like they're just on the back foot.
Oh
Maybe do
yeah.
like a TV series or something if you
Or,
feel so
or even
compelled
just
to.
a short or something like that, or animated or something like that. Just anything but feature, because
Yeah.
like, is it really going to be a good idea?
Yeah. Uh, Next up, Rockstar has continued to prove that they're not nearly as good at developing games as we used to think back in the day.
GTA
So
Definitive Edition.
Defective Edition
Oh yeah,
is
Defective
what it's
Edition,
actually
more like.
called. But yeah, so in a move that surprised basically no one, it's basic. I mean, it hasn't been officially confirmed, but let's face it. It's been revealed that Rockstar have now put all their development into Grand Theft Auto 6, eventually, which meant that they decided to shelve remasters of GTA 4 and the first Red Dead Redemption. I think given the really, shall we say, it was poor. It was a poor reception to the definitive edition. I actually forgot it was called that, to be honest. I just called
Yeah,
it the
I
GTA
mean,
trilogy.
look, somebody who absolutely loved those original games, like I wasn't negative towards the definitive in any way possible, but like, they give you all this promise of, oh, it's like it's remastered and all this crap, but it just looks worse. It's oh, and it's bugged to hell. San Andreas especially. I mean, like, it honestly looks better just as the old game. The definitive just makes it look god awful. It really, really does. I mean, the other ones I haven't played. Well, the definitive one editions of it anyway, but I don't know. It's the problem with it is I'm not really too arsed that they're shelving this whole remaster of Red Dead and GTA 4. I mean, GTA 4 doesn't really need a remaster, to be honest. I mean, I played it pretty recently, and sure, it's got its issues, but wouldn't exactly say it's anything, breaking. But whereas if they release a definitive edition, is it going to be like the original GTA trilogy was, where they just completely mess up the AI, etc., like 1,000 times over? So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, again with Red Dead, I'm not really asked about a remaster. I mean, why would you want to remaster one of the most successful games of all time as well? Like, eh?
Well, exactly.
Do you need
Yeah.
to? Like, why not just continue with GTA 6? Like, it's what we've waited for years. I mean, like, we haven't had anything Grand Theft Auto related. I mean, 5 came out in 2013, and it's really starting to show now. And even, like, having a high-tech PC and brand new console, etc., like, there's nothing you can really do to stop it looking 2013. It's just what it
Yeah.
is.
I mean, it's not surprising, especially considering like they put out a newswire and they said they're still doing like some like quality of life updates for the online thing. Well, for GTA Online, some of it which I'm actually quite happy about, namely with like doing cell missions in
No, I
invite
mean,
only sessions.
as happy as I am, I'm pretty annoyed at it because people had
They
suggested this
should they
for
should have done it years
absolutely
ago.
years. And
Yeah.
they've now realised, well, we're losing people because we just don't listen to people. So maybe if we actually start listening to people, we're going to get more players, which is inevitably what has happened. So by them doing that, they're going to get me back for one. Because if I can just sell in a private lobby without some absolute moron on his flying bike of doom blowing up my van or something, you know.
And you're saying that as someone who has that same flying
Well,
bike.
do you know what's funny? Because I'm no longer a console player. I've had to start all over again on PC because you can't transfer your character over. Anything
That's pretty
like
funny.
that. So I have to start from scratch. Total scratch.
I mean, I also started from scratch when I went over to the new series version. It's nah, it's it you know, it is what it is. Um, though I think the main bit that annoyed me was actually mostly just the fact that there's no more major updates for Red Dead Online, which I've really
No, I
tried to
mean
play. Like,
it's pretty unfair because Red Dead 2 is a humongously successful game. I mean, I love Red Dead 2. I've not really played much into the campaign, but it's pretty dire, the online. There's nothing too good about the online. I mean, I really haven't played enough of the online, but I was on just on a horse just going around doing little like bounty hunts or something, but that was honestly it. There was nothing fun to really do in the Red Dead Online. So, but I mean, they mentioned in their newswire that they would be sort of putting more attention into Red Dead Online. Whether they do or not, only time will tell.
yeah. I mean, again, for me, this didn't seem too surprising. For like a lot of reasons, and I'm not nearly as big on Grand Theft Auto as I used to be. Even when I've played it a little bit every now and again, it's just not particularly fun. And I think it was only ever fun when it was like me and you and like a few other people. Which even then, that kind of soured pretty quickly because then we just get annoyed by the fact that people just keep on blowing you up. Which, you know, it's a violent video game. That's gonna be it. We're not like
Yeah,
gonna
but
be.
it's friggin' annoying when you spend hours just
Yeah, exactly. And it's like an
spending
absolute
millions of dollars that
grind.
you've grinded up hours on end, and then some absolute twat just buys like a $2 million hover bike of doom and has the ability to blow up all your stuff you've grinded for. And like people will argue,
Yeah.
well, it's part of the game, etc. But you see, people just actually want to play the game without having some absolute moron do that. So hence why Rockstar have just
Yeah.
finally did this, even though it's taken them the best part of like 5 years or something.
Well,
So
yeah, essentially.
at least we're getting
Um,
it now in the summer, supposedly.
allegedly. I mean, we'll
Allegedly,
see.
yeah.
More than likely, one of us will end up talking about it if it is any better. Um, what else might be better is the future of the Halloween franchise. Possibly, who knows? We have absolutely no idea. I can just about do the theme tune, although I'm probably going to end up going into the Exorcist instead. Not Exorcist. Yeah, it is. Is it
Yeah,
Exorcist?
The
Yeah, it is.
Exorcist. Yep.
Um, yeah, so John Carpenter was talking about it this week, talking about being very very vague as to what we're actually going to get with Halloween Ends coming out in October. Probably Dan's most anticipated film of all time at this rate. I mean, you're not saying no, so
Yes, I'm looking forward to it, without a doubt. Hopefully, though, I'm worried for it. I won't lie. I've mentioned this in the past. I am worried for it because this is supposedly the end, you know. But as Carpenter
I mean, it
has
is
mentioned this,
literally
it won't be ending for Michael Myers, supposedly.
well, exactly. So, like, what the hell's the point? But yeah, so he was in an interview with Sci-Fi, otherwise known as Siffy, as I call them, because reading it on my script, it is clearly Siffy. So when he was asked about what the film is, and he was like, "Well, it's Halloween, and it ends." Like, well done, John.
Finn.
Well done. Absolutely impeccable.
I mean, maybe he's
Um,
just referencing the fact that this is Gordon Green's end and that it just gets passed on to another
Identity.
director, which is, rinse and repeat. And I really, 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 really hope that doesn't happen because we're just going to end up with Halloween Resurrection Part 2.
Oh, we don't know yet. Other bit he said is, you'll see it's a departure from the others. It's interesting. Dave is a really good director. I love working with him. Um, so, I mean, granted, I really liked Halloween Kills for that exact reason that it was different compared to
Different.
the two that I've seen. So maybe my word doesn't have as much to say on yours. Um,
I mean, considering I've seen all of them, and yeah, it's different compared to the other ones. I mean, it's good different though. It's not bad different compared to the other ones that are different for just the wrong reasons and they just don't work in any shape or form.
oh
Like
yeah.
Curse of Michael Myers, or known as Halloween 6, it tries to be different and it's just terrible. It's utterly
Mm.
terrible. I mean, why would you come up with like there's an idea that Michael Myers plagues the town and eventually he just gets inside the townsfolk's head, so they form a cult that just worship Michael Myers. That makes sense because you figure him, so you make a cult about him. But I mean, the film is just piss poor though. One of the worst
I
rated
mean,
films
yeah.
ever. I think it's like 9% or something like that, maybe even lower.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah,
Jesus, that's
I think
that's
Resurrection
actually being generous.
is maybe just under it. Just.
Thing is, to be honest, I honestly initially thought you meant Alien Resurrection. I thought that is not below 9. I'm sure it's slightly higher than
No,
that.
that's 50 something percent.
Okay, I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting it to be that high.
Yeah, I'm the last time I
Um,
honestly checked Regan, I think it was like 57%. I'm just guessing that.
I'm going to be so sick. I'm gonna make myself a clone.
I'm pretty sure it's 57%. I mean, I didn't really rewatch it that long ago either, so I'm pretty sure it's
No, you didn't.
57. Pretty sure. It's 50
Um,
something at the end of the day.
yeah. I mean, like, the only bits that we actually know for sure is that it is going to have a time jump. It is going to be set 4 years after Halloween Kills, and it's also, I think I'm right in saying, probably going to be like the only mainstream blockbuster kind of film, if you class Halloween as a blockbuster, but like big name film that's actually going to acknowledge COVID.
Mm.
I don't think I've seen any big film do that. The closest is with like there's like the horror film Host from, I think it was like the middle of 2020 that was all set on a laptop. Actually pretty good. I actually really like that one. And then there was Kimmy from I think last year as well, also set during the COVID pandemic. So it's nice that this isn't just getting ignored. I just hope that it doesn't just get like used as like a cheap kind of like way to try and make it scarier.
Oh yeah,
It's
I hope that doesn't happen either. But I mean, with
yeah,
Gordon Green behind the directory of it, I think I've got a high hope for it, without a
yeah,
doubt.
and I do too. Even after rewatching Halloween Kills, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and not being bitterly disappointed, which is quite nice. Happens on occasion. And then the
Rare
last bit of
occasion.
news, yeah, the rare occasion. Final bit of news, we finally now have a director for the currently untitled fourth Captain America film. We now have Julius Onar. He's been tapped as the director. He's only done like a few films. It's only one that I know him from. It's not a good film, but that's less his fault than it is the producers. He directed the Cloverfield Paradox back in 2018.
All right,
Um,
still need to watch that.
no,
I've seen Cloverfield, I
not
just
good.
haven't watched the
Yeah,
Paradox.
Cloverfield is amazing. 10 Cloverfield Lane is also amazing. Cloverfield Paradox is rubbish. Um,
Isn't
I
it like a
mean,
prequel?
the mar- mm, how much do I want to say about it? Well, actually, it's the kind of film that tries to claim it actually ties together everything from the previous three
Ah,
films. It
one of
doesn't.
those.
It just makes it even more confusing. It's set in the future, so it's not actually a prequel, or maybe it is in bits.
Right, so
I don't know.
it doesn't know what it is essentially.
It doesn't make it well, no, because much like with 10 Cloverfield Lane, it was a completely different film with a different title that shot it, and then about midway through production, J.J. Abrams is like, I could put a couple of bits of Cloverfield stuff in this. All right, and there we go.
Yeah.
And the film literally got officially confirmed with an actual trailer the day before it was actually released. It was done during the Super Bowl, I think it was. The trailer dropped and then said, okay, once the Super Bowl ends, the film's going to be available on Netflix, so people can watch it immediately. So yeah, so he did Cloverfield Paradox. I think he also did another film called Loose, which apparently was quite good from 2019. Look, I've not got much on this. I don't think we spoke too much about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like at all.
No, I think we've sort of mentioned it but we haven't really delved into it compared to the other ones.
Yeah, I wasn't big on it. It's fine. I think it started off actually quite good. Then just by the end it just started going back into like, yep, we're in generic MCU stuff again. Thank God, because that's exactly what I was missing. That being said, Sam Wilson as Captain America is pretty awesome. So fingers crossed this film's actually good. I mean, let's face it, you've now got two Captain America films that are really damn good. So there's a fairly high bar. One of them having half of the Avengers there. So,
Yep. I mean,
well,
I like all of them, but Winter Soldier and Civil War are just the top tiers. They are very good films.
Civil War, I think, is the film that's improved the most over the years. Like when I first watched it, I really didn't like it, and then on rewatches, I realized it's actually really damn good. Probably in my top 10 of the MCU. I mean, I assume I can't even remember what my ranking is, and I updated the damn thing on Saturday. But there we go. That is us talking about the news. We're now gonna move swiftly on to what Dan's been watching, and I'm pretty certain, despite the fact you've already told me a few of the things you've watched prior to us actually starting to record, I am absolutely certain you must have watched at least one Halloween film. Surely. Oh, for God's sake. Oh, you haven't?
No.
Okay, that's fine. Uh-huh. You've watched two, haven't you?
No.
You better not have watched three of them.
No, I've... So, 16 things watched this week. Was going to watch more, but obviously with the heat wave, I just couldn't. It's too much. So,
Yeah.
Monday was Halloween 2007. This is the Rob Zombie remake.
Oh, you absolute. I
You
wasn't
know what it is? Like, when I
was
first
being-
watched it, I really, really didn't like it. Well, actually, that is a somewhat white lie. I liked it, but definitely one of the weaker films out of the Halloween franchise, and that is saying something, because there's a lot of smut in that franchise. Yeah, definitely improved since the last time I watched it. Really liked it this time around, actually. And a film that I think I've watched before. I mean, you're talking as like a kid here. The Witches from 1990. Never watched it. Oh, what a blast. What an absolute blast
Oh,
it
no.
is.
Yeah. I haven't watched it. I've only seen the remake from a couple of years ago, which wasn't great. It was okay.
No, you should just stick with the original. The original is always better. Always better. I mean,
Well,
I've
yeah.
seen images of the remake because both of them are on Prime, and I thought I do not have the slightest bit of interest in seeing this absolute piece of smut. Because it does. It looks absolutely smut compared to the 1990s one. The 1990s one is brilliant. You've got to watch it. It's so fun.
Fair enough.
And finally, the Planet of the Apes trilogy is complete. I watched War of the Planet of the Apes. Well, War for the Planet of the Apes, I should say. I got the title mixed up there.
Utterly disgusting, man. Did you
Hot
cry?
take.
Oh, no.
I actually prefer Dawn.
Well. You absolute maniac.
Yeah. I prefer
I'm
Dawn.
firing you.
I
actually
still
quite
really,
surprising,
really,
yeah.
really, really like War. That's 4.5, but
Yeah.
Dawn is 5.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. I really
I
liked
disagree,
it.
but it's fine.
I really, really liked it. It's a great film. I will rewatch it again. I will watch the entire trilogy because it is a fantastic trilogy. It's brilliant. And yes, I did tear up.
Good boy. Good boy.
So yes, I do have emotions. Halloween 2 from 2009, again Rob Zombie. I watched this really, really late at night because I couldn't sleep. I was thinking, oh well,
That sounds about right.
because I've watched the first one, it's improved, so the second one will surely improve. It hasn't. I still don't
No,
like
it
it.
hasn't. Of course not.
I still don't like it. It'd be fine if there just wasn't this... Right, I'm going to just give you a little spoiler here, right? So, Michael Myers has visions of his dead mother and a white horse, and it's just pointless, and it really brings the film down. It's stupid.
A white horse.
Yeah, because he mentions in the previous film when he's institutionalized at Smith's Grove, or so we assume, it's not really disclosed in the remake, that he pictures his mother in the dream in a white dress riding a white horse, and then sees that vision, and it's just like, eh? I came here for killing, I didn't came here for the stupid dream sequences. Yeah, it's...
Yeah.
Uh,
Dreams and horses.
yeah. Next up was Elvira's movie Macabre, Don't Look in the Basement from 1973. Or just simply, don't look at Amazon Prime because it was an absolute waste of time.
Oh, surprise, surprise.
It's very low budget. It's very obviously low budget. But my god, like, I'm usually quite nice with low budget stuff, but this was just a waste of my time. I was so bored. It's basically just the horror of mental illness, and then the plot twist at the end, it's just... No. Couldn't recommend it. Elvira is fine. The film, no. No.
That seems fair.
Next up is probably the most bizarre film I've ever watched, ever, to this date. A film called Mad God by Phil Tibb something. It's on Shudder. It's a stop motion animation film. It is just gross from start to finish, and I love it.
I was gonna say that is on my watch list, and then for some reason my Shudder thing cancelled itself, so I haven't gone back to it.
It's really messed up, but in a good way. Like,
yeah, I figured.
It's like a fever dream. In all honesty, it literally feels like a fever dream. Like, as I'm watching it, I'm thinking, I have dreams like this film. Where baby, like, seal-teethed creatures are just being squashed into liquid and stuff. It's beautiful. Another
Sexy.
film on Shudder called Becky from 2020. Home invasion horror from basically what I thought of it. There's a teenage girl called Becky who just basically goes on a murderous rampage as these neo-Nazi intruders break into her house in search of an amulet. Fun, definitely.
So it's Carrie.
Yeah, basically. It's essentially Carrie, but with Nazis. And the Nazis die in brutal fashion, which is just lovely to see.
Good. This should be the way it is.
It's nothing like, excitingly brilliant. It's just fine. Entertaining nonetheless, but I wouldn't say it's anything... You're not bringing anything new to the table of home invasion. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's gory as hell.
We did.
Yes, we did with Invasion. Now, Miss Marvel Episode 5. Nothing really much to say. As I said in the previous ones, opinion hasn't really changed. So I guess we're going to say what happens with Episode 6. I completely forgot it was a thing. Now, I wonder if you've watched this. I think you probably have. Doctor Who, The Dalek Invasion of Earth, 1964. Finally bloody watched it. Oh.
You finally watched the damn thing.
Yeah, 3 hours later.
I do like it, but I think I actually prefer the Peter Cushing Dalek Invasion Earth thing. I do find that one more enjoyable.
It's so much better. It's not messed up with pacing continuously. It's just so much better. I mean, look, I like it.
I mean, it's got some
but did it need to be?
I mean, it's definitely got like. Well, I mean, it's weird. I mean, here's the thing: if it was engaging enough for now, then yeah, totally, I'd watch it for 3 hours. I'd watch a 3-hour Dalek Invasion. But in this instance, nah.
Yeah. It's... I mean, there's some parts of it that just feel so pointless. Like, it does what the Daleks did, where they just dedicate a part to something absolutely pointless. But, yeah. So, next up was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Episode 3 from Season 1. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. However, I've started a new series, Agent Carter. Now, I've wanted to watch this for years because I like Peggy Carter as a character. So I watched the first episode and really like it. So there's only 2 seasons, so I think I'm definitely going to be binge watching this over the next few weeks. Without a doubt.
Oh, well. Oh, well.
Oh, now here we come to the smuttiest entry of the week. Underworld from 2003.
Oh, for God's sake. Oh.
So, for those who aren't familiar, this is basically a erotic flick of vampires and werewolves in some bullshit war.
Erotic?
Dressed in sexy costumes, fighting
No,
it out,
they're just dressed in
but
black
not
leather.
in transformations or anything like that. No, they have weapons, guns, with bullets designed to kill each other. So the vampires use silver bullets to kill werewolves, and the werewolves use like ultraviolet bullets to kill the vampire. It's just pointless. I don't honestly know what the fuck this film is. It's so pointless. Stylish as hell. I mean, it looks nice, but everything else, no. No. Thor: Love and Thunder, as mentioned, me and Regan are obviously going to be doing spoilers and non-spoilers for this. As a general, liked it. That's all I'll say. And preparing myself for it was Thor Ragnarok, and I still love Ragnarok. It's one of my favourite Marvel films of all time. I think it's so good. And a short film called Bite, which I think was like a vampire ballerina thing on Randomax. I can't honestly remember. It was pretty good.
That sounds all right. Yeah.
Now, Ash vs. Evil Dead. I finally started Ash vs. Evil Dead.
I mean, I've heard some good stuff about it.
It's really
You
good.
know,
The
even
first
as someone who
episode
hasn't
is
seen any of those films.
40 minutes odd long, but then everything else is kind of 20 minutes, so it's really fun. I mean, I love Evil Dead. I love the Evil Dead trilogy, so this was naturally going to be a favoured thing as well, but it's so fun. It's so bloody fun. I can't even begin to describe how fun it is. It's just so good. But yes, that is everything I have watched for this week. I'm now handing the torch to Mr. Inglis.
Okie dokie. It's my time to shine. Yeah, so we're going to kick things off with a rewatch of Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. I wasn't even planning on watching this, like, at all. I think I got to the point where we're like, let's watch something a little bit sillier. So we were like, okay, we'll watch Attack of the Clones, because it was the last one to watch in our massive Star Wars rewatch since the pandemic. It was taken 2 years to finally stomach it.
Oh no.
I don't know if... Here's the thing, 20 years old, I don't know if time has been kind or if I'm looking at this film differently after Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think this film is okay. Like, it's like right in the middle. It's got some stuff in it that I do actually quite like. Some stuff I don't quite like. Some stuff I really like and stuff I think is rubbish.
Well, I think one of the rubbish things is certainly that absolutely atrocious romance.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's absolute... I mean, it's so written. I was about to say well written.
It's so well written. Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely on the page. It was also funny now, especially after Ewan McGregor said that all the dialogue was ADR'd. So I'm like, okay, I'm looking out for this now. But then also, you're telling me that George agreed twice to that dialogue, and Hayden Christensen agreed twice to that as well. It's fine. I don't think it's better than The Phantom Menace. I do think it's better than Revenge of the Sith. I went there. I don't like Revenge of the Sith. Well, I don't like Attack of the Clones either. Like,
I just don't particularly like the trilogy, to be honest.
Well, I mean, as a whole, yeah, it's not great. Even if the story is more, well, it's better constructed than whatever shit we got in the last couple of years. Because my god,
I think the only one out of that I like is Revenge of the Sith, and that is only because it's dark as hell.
I mean, you tend to like things that are dark as hell, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
As opposed to lovey-dovey and full of romance and
like
weird
Attack of the
rats,
Clones.
creature things.
weird spider
Ugh.
rhino wolf thing that makes
Excuse me, the
weird
spider is
noises.
called an Ackley. I I mean, I only know the Ackley from Star Wars Battlefront 2, so it's fine. Next up, we have The Invisible Man. This is the 2020 version by Lee Winnell.
Oh yes, good
I bought this
choice.
thing, like, I think it was like, yeah, I wasn't even planning. I mean, there's a lot of this I didn't end up planning to watch, it just sort of happened. But it'd been on my watch list for quite a long time, especially because people had spoken like really highly of it. And yeah, I agree. I think it's really good. I think I knew immediately I was going to like it a lot purely just from the opening scene and how well it ramps up the tension. You're suddenly terrified of this guy that she's running away from, even though all he's doing in that entire scene is being asleep. It's so well done.
Yeah, it is a very good film.
I
I was
mean,
really impressed with it when I
it's
first watched it.
definitely. I mean, I believe that Lee Winnell's also, at the very least, somehow involved in a Wolfman remake that's actually starring Ryan Gosling. I thought that's a weird choice to say the least. But then again, he
Yeah.
doesn't really do regular stuff anyway.
Yeah,
So
I'm still yet
I
to
mean, like
watch the
I mean, it's certainly better.
original Invisible Man, but
I was actually going to, but I ended up
yeah,
swapping it out for something else, which I'll get to in a minute. Um, but yeah, I thought it was really good. Next up is a film called Benedetta. This is a 2021.
Vendetta.
I want to say it's a French film. I think it's French. It's
Yeah,
streaming on Movie. Um, I wouldn't be shocked if you haven't heard of it. I hadn't heard of it either.
no, I can't
Um,
say it's familiar.
well, it's set in a convent in the 17th century and follows some nuns. One of them ends up in a relationship with one of the girls who arrives at the convents, escaping from an abusive father. So it deals with a lot of things with like faith and belief and stuff like that. I thought it was really good, to be honest.
Okay.
Surprisingly, it's also not the only film I've seen this week that technically deals with faith and belief in a higher power. And let's just say that one of them does it better than the other. Ooh.
Ooh.
Ooh. I'm actually talking about the next thing, which is Halo Season 1, Episode 5. I'm actually kidding. I'm not actually talking about this one. This is probably the best episode of the season. In that it's
Right.
mostly
How,
just
how many
action and
is there in the
it's
season? Obviously, I've got no interest in watching it, but
I think there's 9 episodes in total.
right.
So basically at the midway point, but literally this is like 15 minutes shorter than the rest of them, and it is just all action. And didn't get us wrong, I thought it was pretty effective. It definitely reminded us of the games. I also just got like really giddy watching them charging across the battlefield, and there's like a warthog going alongside them at like the same speed. I'm like, that is straight out of the games. I really
Yeah,
like
that
that a
takes me
lot.
back. Especially, it kind of
Yeah.
sounds like that. I think it's like the last level in Halo 3 where you basically just have to escape from the Halo ring before it explodes, and you've got to like traverse this thing in the warthog. It's a nightmare.
I mean, I'm pretty certain the Halo ring doesn't actually appear in it. I mean, I know it's been referenced, I think, in the second or third episode, but I don't think it appears in this season. I mean, I've got no idea. I would find it quite funny if the third act of that final episode is them just running away in a warthog from a load of explosions in the background. I'm like, wow, you really you were doing so well to be like, yeah, we are different from the games until now. Because that's like the only way to end a Halo game, as it turns out. It's not actually. The newer ones
Just
do it
explosions everywhere.
differently.
Michael
Yeah,
Bay style.
Michael Bay would have, yeah, bloody Michael Bay. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. But again, it's because there's no character or story. It's just action, and it was fun. I also rewatched the Thor film in anticipation for Love and Thunder. I didn't rewatch Ragnarok, mostly because I'm pretty certain I rewatched it a couple of months ago, and I rewatched the first Thor, literally a couple of days before going to Spain.
So, your opinion on the original Thor, though?
I think it's good. I think it's quite good.
Yeah.
It's not great. I know there's a lot of people that really like it. Like in retrospect, the bleached eyebrows kind of pisses off. It kind of like really annoys me.
Do you know
Um,
what I find so funny with that is when you look back on it and he is such a brat.
yeah, I mean, it makes sense because it's the introduction to his character. We need to actually care about him further on. But no, instead I rewatched Thor: The Dark World. I haven't
No.
watched this one for a while. Again, it's weird actually going back to it, despite knowing like the difficulties behind the scenes. And
Oh
yeah, there are
yes.
bits I don't like. I think Christopher Eccleston is utterly wasted, and I think he's more than right to be voicing his issues in the year since. Like he's been very vocal about it. Um, I actually don't mind it. I actually think it's quite decent.
Hmm.
Yeah, Natalie Portman is also utterly wasted. In fact, most human characters in this are utterly wasted. Though I still laugh a lot at both Thor hanging Mjolnir on a coat hanger. Any film that has that automatically is good. Um, and there's also the bit when he does arrive back on Earth and after Jane Foster slaps him in the face and then Darcy rocks up um, and she's just like, so how's space? He's like, space is fine. It's like, I really like that. I like that
Yeah.
a lot. Um, I find it quite enjoyable. I quite like the visual aesthetic as well. It's not as like overly like bright and stuff compared to the first film. It looks very much like it would be from the director of Game of Thrones. And it's slightly better than his next film, Terminator Genisys, but it's fine.
Oh no. You know what it is, right? I'm still. I think I've watched maybe half of it before I just couldn't deal with it anymore.
The worst thing is though, is like the first 10 minutes of Genesis are actually quite good.
Hmm.
It's sort of like, well, minus the Jai Courtney narration, because anything with Jai Courtney narration is automatically bad. Anything with Jai Courtney is automatically bad, except for the
Yeah.
first 10 or 15 minutes of The Suicide Squad. But then he dies at the beginning of that. Spoilers! It's a year old, however. Now, next up is the replacement for the original Invisible Man, The Mummy from 1932, Boris
Yay.
Karloff. I find it hilarious in retrospect after Stephen Sommers, who directed the 1999 one, said he didn't want his mummy to be covered in bandages and stuff for the entire film like Boris Karloff. And I was like, okay. And then you watch this and he's literally in the bandages for a scene.
Yeah.
And then he's a character who, honestly, you should have seen my face when he says his name. Because again, I knew nothing about like this original version. So he's posing, so it's sort of like cuts to 10 years after he is released,
Hmm.
and he calls himself Ardith Beer. And I was like, are you freaking telling me that arguably one of the best characters in the first two Stephen Sommers Mummy films, the Medjai, Ardith Beer, is named in honor of this? I was like, are you kidding me?
I know.
like, I was like, that is. But then again, he has a fez, and I love him immediately because you can't
Ah,
see
yes,
this
he
because
does
once
have a
again we
fez.
are back to fez.
Ah,
Oh,
yes.
yeah, I thought it was quite good, but it does that really. It does that thing that I think. Michael Bay as a director clearly harkens back to in his Transformers films, where it ends immediately.
Yeah.
Literally, it is resolved seconds later. The end.
And then like the rest of the film just drags out stuff because it's just ended
Yeah,
too quickly. Yeah.
and it's an hour and 13 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like, imagine if you put out films these days that are an hour and 13 minutes.
To be honest, I think it's mostly with a lot of the sequels where that is quite common. It's
Yeah.
especially with I think there's a mummy one that I watched. I think it was like the Curse of the Mummy or something, or maybe the Hand of the Mummy. It does
Shroud of the
exactly
Mummy's
that.
Hand or something.
It's just like it has a really good start, and then like it just finishes, and then the rest of the film is just this bullshit because it's ended. Like there's nothing else to go on because you've ended it. Ugh.
But I
Yeah,
think as
I
well
really
as
like the original. I like the original. It's good.
oh yeah,
It's good.
it's pretty good. It's obviously not as good as the 1999 one, which is absolutely just peak cinema. I just... One day... Oh, shut up. Just shut up, Dan.
Yeah, in the rare occurrence, I'd say that I honestly prefer the 99 one compared to some
Good
of
boy.
the Universal Mummy films.
Good boy. Next up was Thor: Love and Thunder. I will get to that. After that was the final episode of The Boys season 3. Bloody carnage. Absolutely. Unlike the carnage that you're now thinking of, and now the carnage that I'm thinking of, which is absolutely shit. Surprisingly enough.
Yeah, it wasn't obvious enough.
yeah,
Regan
again,
really
it's...
doesn't like that film.
We already referenced this in the previous episode.
We've referenced this 100 times
the
in
damn
you know,
autograph.
It's just
Good God. I'm sick
just
of it,
even
honestly.
the name just brings sheer aggression to him.
Anytime you see it, I actually want to burn the fez. Poor thing. And the last thing I want to do is burn that fez.
Just use it
Do
as
not make me
candling.
burn the fez down. I can't really go into spoilers anyway on this one because I know you said you are going to watch it at some point. I absolutely still maintain this is like the best superhero stuff you can get. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely spot on. I mean, I totally get it if people don't like dark and gritty, like R-rated, violent, bloody superheroes. That's fine. I can totally understand why. But honestly, if it's this well written and this well done, give us 10 more seasons. I'd absolutely watch 10 seasons worth of The Boys, which is it's absolutely fantastic. And I genuinely don't know what the hell they're gonna do with season 4. The rare thing where like it ends, and I'm just like, I don't know what on earth you're gonna do, and I can't wait to see what on earth you're actually gonna do. Also, just seeing Jensen Ackles, who played Dean Winchester in Supernatural, this time playing a character who's essentially the racist version of Captain America. He's really damn good. I mean, honestly, he is, because he's from the 1940s, so he has that mindset. I'm like, you didn't give that to Captain America, did you?
No, Captain America is
funny
very
as
PC.
that would have been. I mean, like, imagine when he gets out and the first person he sees is Nick Fury. My God.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain there is something like that in The Boys. I'm fairly certain. Is there? I think there is.
I imagine they would do that because it's, as you said, it's very gory, gnarly. It's superhero horror, really. It's really no other way to describe it. It's superhero horror, which is a genre that I absolutely love.
Every now and again. And now, because I've been ill the last couple of days, I was actually able to get to a few more things. So I went back to my Doctor Who rewatch. I'd gotten to, I think it was like the middle of the way through series 6, and then just dropped off because I was busy with anything else. So I watched a few more of that. Episode 5 and 6, The Rebel Flesh and the Almost People, written by Matthew Graham. Mm-hmm. Best known for penning Fear Her from series 2. I mean, this is better. It's actually quite interesting. It's basically Avatar meets The Thing, which you laugh at, but that is literally the pitch that Stephen Moffat gave to
very
Matthew
familiar,
Graham.
and I think I might have watched it because it's.
Oh, probably.
I probably have watched it from what you've said so far because it does sound awfully familiar. Is it
this
set
one
in like a castle kind of thing?
In a monastery, yeah.
Yes, yep, seen it. Yep. Avatar
it's actually
The Thing.
Well, I mean,
you're not
when
wrong.
You think about it by
you're
the
not
end,
wrong.
Exactly yeah, exactly. I mean, when it does become The Thing, it gets really bad. Especially that last bit with the weird, janky quadruped monster thing that probably has a name. It's called Jennifer.
Terrifying.
I'm now just thinking of Bob from Monsters vs. Aliens, just like something. What exactly is your monster name? And it's just Jennifer. It's like Jennifer.
I've only watched one episode
legendary.
from, as like a current rewatch. I've only watched The Impossible Astronaut so far, so it's like literally the first episode in.
that one was nuts. Like like watching that for the first time back in 2011. I can remember just like shitting myself when he gets shot, and shitting myself whenever the silence pops up, and I'm like, this is
They are
actually fucking
creepy as hell.
terrifying. Easily one of the best designed monsters, just full stop. It's absolutely
It's the
spot
fact that
on.
like the characters see them, and then like they just forget, like they just have their memory erased of it. So it's like there's no threat. And it's like, well, there clearly is a threat. Bloody Rory and his memory wipe.
Next up was one that's been on my watch list for a while. It's a little Spanish horror found footage film called Wreck, which I believe is on your watch list as well.
Yes.
I've said my fair share when it comes to zombie films. Generally, don't really care. This is very similar to Lake Mungo in my reaction. I don't love it nearly as much as Lake Mungo, but this one was actually really good. So for those who don't know, it's meant to be like a fake news report. Well, it's a news reporter covering a story with firefighters in Barcelona. They end up going to a building that's had an alarm go off, and there's basically a case of rabies going around, and it turns people into zombies, because of course it does. Because what else is rabies going to do in a film?
It kind of sounds like Quarantine, which is also a Spanish film similar to that. It sounds like that.
Yeah, well, this one was really good. I thought it was really effective. And as other people have said who have seen the film, the final scene is utterly terrifying. Like, by my standards, it's terrifying. Literally, at one point, the lights go out, the camera, the only light is from the night vision on the camera, so only the camera can see what the characters can't. And then you see something come into the room, and I lost it. Utterly lost it. So congratulations on another zombie film that isn't complete rubbish. Sorry to the few zombie films that are probably quite good that I haven't seen yet. Yeah. This one was today's. This is the final film. I'm going to reference another game in a second. Batman the movie, but not the Michael Keaton one.
Right.
This is the Adam West one from 1966.
Oh yes. Yes.
This film is fucking brilliant. Like, it is.
Robin,
absolutely
pass me my
amazing.
anti-shark repellent.
You know what it is, right? It was. My girlfriend had found a GIF of.
Oh my god, anti-shark repellent. I mean.
No, so my girlfriend found a GIF of Batman running around on the pier with the bomb, and he keeps on running into nuns and people with pushchairs, and just like, I need context to this, so we rented it today, and within 3 or 4 minutes she was in tears with laughter. It was amazing, to the point that she even said I might have to reconsider if I prefer this or the Lego Batman movie, because she absolutely loves the Lego Batman, which, in fairness, the Lego Batman movie is amazing. And yeah, this is not the Robert Pattinson Batman, but it should be. In fact, I'm actually going to go on to YouTube after we finish recording this. I'm going to look for the opening intro to Batman the movie and see if someone's re-edited it to make it for the Batman, and it's just Robert Pattinson just sort of like being found in like a spotlight.
Like all this bright colour in this 1966 film, and there's just Robert Pattinson.
I just love how they jump to conclusions when it comes to the riddles, where like, we were attacked at C for Catwoman. I was like, no, it's obviously C for Aquaman, you fucking moron. Bloody Robin. Stupid Robin.
C for Catwoman. Robin, C is in like ocean sea.
And you gotta love
C is in
how...
God.
Yeah, and 2 other bits. One, the Riddler has a better villain laugh than the Joker in this, which I just find is funny. And also, he could somehow fire missiles into the sky, they explode, and then rather than just exploding into smoke, the smoke turns into riddles. As in, like, a paragraph of words that is just there with question marks and commas, and I'm just like, I miss films like this. I actually do. Like,
mindless entertainment.
well, even if you do Batman, but like Kingsman style, I'd be totally fine with that. That would be hilarious. Like you know, I mean, I even said this when we reviewed the Batman like a few months ago. I did like the film, even if it's just another dark and gritty version. Like, I'd like a more silly version. Maybe not entirely this one, because it's very much of its time. But my God, is it brilliant! Like, and especially when you think about the fact that it's perfectly reminiscent of the TV show, but it's also very reminiscent of the comics of that time anyway. So in a way, it's one of the most faithful Batman films ever made.
Definitely.
Which, when you say it out loud, that sounds quite funny. And then final one. This is the video game that you will approve of, and if you don't, I'm going to cry. Aliens versus Predator.
Yay!
Because it was £2.
Yay! Do you know what's funny, right? I have a confession to make.
Don't say that this is better than Alien Isolation, because it's not.
No, I'm just confessing that I've spent the majority of my week just absolutely sweating that game on the hard difficulty.
Oh, you absolute nut.
Getting all the Predator trophy belts, getting all the Alien Royal Jelly containers, done all 3 campaigns on hard, and now I'm just progressing in Nightmare difficulty. Not fun.
I got stuck for about an hour and a half on trying to get down to vents that had like a lot of wind going up. I had no clue what the hell I was doing.
Yeah, I
kept on going back and forth. You've got to
target the other vents and go in and slip and like zigzag.
Yeah, I know. I figured it out eventually, but I'm like, how the hell does that work?
I know, because surely the wind is strong enough to just get you anyway. Like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
I mean, most of the time, I've already done a bit of the Alien one so far. I haven't done the other ones yet. But honestly, running around as the Xenomorph is so difficult. Like, the amount of times I die is purely because I run too quickly and I just run into open fire. Which, by the way, some of the humans have such impeccable vision. It's offensive.
Dude, when you get it on high difficulty, right, you can literally smell the absolute bullshit from the mechanics of the Marines. It's absolute bullshit.
And trust us, there is some bullshit in Alien Isolation, so I cannot wait to see the bullshit in this one.
Put it this way, I did... One of the missions in the Alien ones is in the Predator ruins. You'll obviously progress through the story, but anyway, there are numerous Marines around. Now, you obviously have the ability to traverse over any surface as the Xenomorph. Now, you're hidden in the dark, however, this one Marine just has X-ray vision, apparently, because he just saw me in the shadows and just unloaded on me.
Sexy.
Safe to say, I gave him a pretty gruesome death in frustration.
You should.
I did. Oh, I did.
I'm also curious. I mean, again, because I'm only a little bit in, but I'm assuming this doesn't have any ties to the films that they did.
Oh no,
I'm assuming it's more
totally
just the
not
comics.
canon. Not canon at all.
Right. That's fine, because I'd rather they don't do that. Although I suppose they could have done it for the first one. I wouldn't have minded that one too much. You could have done that.
To be honest, it's probably better than the first one, or even the second one.
I mean, I'm assuming that.
It is.
God, man, Dan, that is not classed as a hot take. The entire planet thinks that. Even people that don't even know what Alien and Predator even is. God damn it.
Yeah, it is.
To whisper.
I will say, right, the Marine campaign is annoying. It's freaking annoying. And I think that's just because, obviously, you can play as the alien, so you have the alien skills, and the Predator, you have the Predator stealth, etc. But as the Marine, you pretty much just have to watch your ammo counter, really, because, again, it's just BS.
BS. But yeah, as I say, I haven't gotten too far. I think I'm like 20% or something into the Alien one, which all of a sudden seems like it's pretty quick.
They're quite short.
Yeah.
They're quite short, the campaigns.
I mean, I figured. I mean, it's from like 2010 as well, so I mean, it's definitely looking its age, to be honest. It looks about 12 years old.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
But yes, that is my weekly list, and as ever, you've watched more than me. and probably played more than me. You're just rude.
To be honest,
But
I think
now
aside
this
from
is...
Alien versus Predator, not much else really. It's just doing them on
No.
hard difficulty, which has just taken up so much of my time.
Yeah. But now it is finally time to review another Marvel movie. There's a new Marvel thing out that we both have actually watched, and we both have things to say, and I cannot wait for this. So, as you know,
I've got a feeling that it's going to be one of us really likes it, and the other just... meh.
okay, very interesting. Yes, so Thor: Love and Thunder. Spoiler free for a little bit first. Bit of a breakdown on the plot. This is written and directed by Taika Waititi, who did 2017's Thor: Ragnarok, which Dan mentioned. He rewatched. It's one of his favorite Marvel movies. I'm not nearly as big on that one as I used to be, but I totally get why people really like it. So this is the first time that Thor's appeared in a film since 2019. He's basically lost his way. I think the weight of everything and everyone he's lost over the years has finally hit him. So he's like really struggling to figure out what the hell he's supposed to do. Until he gets a distress call from one lady, Sif, who still exists. She's actually still a thing. And I was like, I could have sworn you died in Ragnarok. And then I realized, oh yeah, she didn't actually appear at all. So I thought, funny. That's actually funny. But yeah, there's a distress call because there is Gore the God Butcher on the loose, aka what's his name? American
Bale.
Psycho dude. I've forgotten his name in American Psycho. Damn it, I love American Psycho. But yes,
or
Christian
even
Bale,
Bruce Wayne.
Well, I was going to say, either that or Christian Bale, the actor, is going across the universe trying to kill every single god. I have questions on that. So it's up to Thor to pick up his axe once again and bring about what he calls the greatest team ever. I'm like, you're part of the Avengers. Bring the Avengers. They aren't doing anything anymore. Just bring them in. It can be like... But yes, so he gets a team together with Korg, once again played by Taika Waititi. You got Valkyrie, played by Tessa Thompson, and Jane Foster is now back, played by Natalie Portman, who, through some inexplicable plot means, is now wielding a reforged version of Mjolnir as the mighty Thor. One of the most anticipated films of the year for a lot of people. We reviewed the trailers a couple of times. Both pretty excited to see it. Let's hear your thoughts first. General spoilers. No spoilers.
So with or without spoilers?
Without.
Okay, well, I think it's definitely better than the first two Thor films without a doubt.
Okay.
But it's not nearly as good as Ragnarok. It's good. Well, it's great, in fact. But it's nowhere near as good as Ragnarok. And for the simple fact of Ragnarok is just silly. There's not really anything too serious with Ragnarok. Whereas this, it's funny, but then it has serious sides to it. And then it's just funny again. It's just like, well, are you trying to be serious or are you trying to be funny? But yes,
yeah, I was gonna say
generally,
that
I've looked forward to it. It didn't disappoint. Put it that way. I liked it. There's some very, very fun parts, especially with Korg, and I love Korg as a character. He's absolutely bonkers. There are a lot of fun scenes, and Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher is a very good choice of actor as well. Does a great job. Natalie Portman, of course, and Chris Hemsworth as Thor, and of course our very, so we say, brief Guardians of the Galaxy crewmates.
very brief, yeah.
But even so, it was still nice seeing them. So it kind of follows on from Endgame and stuff. So it was good to see that. But what about your thoughts on Love and Thunder?
Well, you said before that you thought it was going to be a case where one of us quite liked it and the other one thought it was meh. You're actually wrong. I don't think it's meh.
No.
I've been waiting for 2 or 3 days to see this. I really didn't like it.
I knew it! I knew it!
I'm actually going to go even worse. Sorry.
Oh dear.
Somehow, despite everything that could have been, anything that's happened in this universe, both our universe and the MCU, this has now beaten the Eternals for being the worst film in the MCU for me. Sorry.
Stop the press. Ooh, talk about a smoldering hot take.
The hottest take so far, and this is 22 episodes
Okay,
in.
so obviously without spoiler, so what
Yeah.
did it? What is so bad?
I think the comedy is absolutely atrocious. I didn't even chuckle a single point. There were so many cringy bits. You've got the goats that are screaming all the time. This isn't a spoiler, they're in the trailer, so we're fine. I'm like, we haven't found that funny since 2012. You're 10 years late, Taika, like, what the hell? There's a subplot involving Jane Foster after she gets the hammer that is supposed to be funny but isn't. Again, with a lot of the comedy, it's supposed to be funny but isn't. I totally get why people really like Korg, and I really like Korg in Ragnarok. I think he's absolutely the highlight of that film. Like, piss off Ghost is one of the funniest things. Although, I actually think I was gonna start a revolution, but I didn't print out enough pamphlets. There is none of that in this film. I thought he was the most annoying
there is a lack
character
of
in the entire
Ragnarok
film.
Korg in this film, which again, as I said, that's why I prefer Ragnarok.
I don't understand why Taika thought to give him so much screen time. Why he thought to give himself so much screen time in this, because he doesn't really do anything. Really, the only thing that really saves it is some of the performances are quite good. Christian Bale is terrific, thoroughly menacing, and also about as over the top as he was in American Psycho, which worked out really well. I quite like the new theme that Michael Giacchino brings in, but it's not entirely memorable. I do prefer the Ragnarok one, but it is growing on me. I have listened to it quite a bit while I was writing my review, which, by the way, there is a written review on Letterboxd, if you so care, which is spoiler-free. I don't spoil anything in the film. I'm going to do that in a second, for your amusement, or for Dan,
or disamusement,
his utter dismay. Yeah, it's 2 hours long, and unlike Eternals, like, which was boring as hell, this wasn't really boring, but it also just didn't really do anything for us. And it's funny how we did actually have a news story on this a couple of weeks ago. I ended up cutting it mostly because the audio was a bit iffy, but I even mentioned in that I wasn't entirely looking forward to the film anymore, just because of bits and bobs that I'd seen and some clips that had been released that just really, it reaffirmed why I drifted away from Ragnarok as much as I did, because yeah, it's still quite funny, but then some of the comedy really doesn't land. And bearing in mind, I really love Taika Waititi as a director, like, especially for comedy. Like, Hunt for the Wilder People and What We Do in the Shadows is hilarious, but I don't think it works entirely well here. And I have seen, like, the discourse around this film. That is something that people have picked up on. That being said, much like me, there's plenty of people that do really like the film. I'm just not one of them, and I'm kind of annoyed that I do actually think it's worse than Doctor Strange on a rewatch and Eternals on a first time watch in November, which I completely forgot about.
I just can't believe that. I was at least expecting.
Oh, you absolutely can.
Like, it's not as bad as Eternals. I was not expecting that it's worse than Multiverse of Madness, and it's worse than Eternals. I was not expecting that absolute bombshell. Jeez.
Yeah. I do not hold back in these, because I just don't need to. I don't need to. I didn't even care if I'm ill. I'm still going to roast it. But yes, we've done our spoiler-free stuff. Now let's just delve right into spoilers.
I'll say off the bat.
I want to start off. Oh, yes, okay.
I think you're probably going to feel the same way about this, but the overuse of Guns N' Roses songs.
The the music was weird in this one. I
Yeah,
didn't find it nearly as impactful. Um, it's actually funny how I think I was talking to a couple of friends of mine at work about Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, namely with the music and that. Because I jokingly said to my girlfriend that one of the radio stations I listened to the most was actually the country one. I think it was K Rose or something, which just made her laugh. And then one of the
yeah,
songs that's in the game is Welcome to the Jungle, and that's like the first song that plays in this. I was like, oh, that is poorly timed, Psyker. What the hell?
yeah. There is a lot of Guns
Um,
N' Roses songs used in that film, and it is unnecessary.
yeah,
A
it
lot.
doesn't. I mean, it's it's actually weird how it feels like it's still either one upping Ragnarok or it's one upping the Guardians of the Galaxy films, which is ironic to say for Marvel because Suicide Squad got ripped apart for that as well. Like the first one with Gerard Lator as Joker.
Joker.
Joker. Joker. Um, yeah, I mean, beyond like the original stuff from Giacchino, there wasn't really any like licensed music that really was really memorable beyond the ones that were in the trailer, which is a bit
Yeah.
sad to be honest, I suppose. Um, Especially that scene with Welcome to the Jungle. I think immediately I knew I wasn't gonna like the film. Um, I'm actually gonna reference Thor's arc in this film, where it's literally just the exact same arc he was on in the first film, where he's introduced as completely unsympathetic and does not care about collateral damage at all and just blows everything up and is more interested in just being like adored by people. I'm like, are you really ripping off the arc from the first film?
It's definitely like
That
that with
doesn't
the
work.
wherever. Well, it's with the bit with the Guardians actually, with the temple,
Hmm.
and it's like falling
Yeah.
to pieces. It's like, huh, this seems
Yeah.
familiar.
Two,
Hmm.
two bits as well from that bit. One, I cringe so hard when he stops the two speeder bikes with his legs. It looks like something out of Flash Gordon, but the good kind of bits from Flash Gordon. Um, but I mean, this bit actually goes more into the screenwriter side of me. I absolutely despise when you have a character say, "As you may know." That's just like a proper nitpick for me. It's
Hmm.
when King Yakan pops up and he's like, "As you know, we used to live in whatever." I'm like, we don't know that. What the hell? I mean, I've got bigger issues to deal with in this film than three
The
words.
picky
Um,
screenwriting.
I cannot help it, Dan. It's who I am. Um, but then it's weird because then they're having all like it's like a classic Thor adventure, and then it cuts to Jane Foster. Um, Look, I don't think this is much of a thing to say. Like this character isn't very interesting in her previous appearances, like at all.
Yeah,
And that's not to that's not a like that's not a thing at Natalie Portman. She's a fantastic actress, um, and she's absolutely trying so damn hard in this film. But my God, this film still doesn't make her interesting. Um, Obviously, with this film, she is wielding Mjolnir, but it's pretty much identical from the comics that they're lifting from, where she's diagnosed with cancer, and so every time she wields the hammer, it heals her, but then it also purges any chemotherapy she's been going through. So essentially, it's also killing her.
yeah,
Um, that's a very delicate thing to deal with, and I mean, there are some people that kind of going overboard with it, where they're like, "Oh, it's absolutely disgusting." No, actually, it's pretty
yeah.
spot
I
on.
I see your point there because it's as I said like before. It's you go from this amusing, if not cringy, battle as you've mentioned, and then you go to Jane Foster going under a cancer diagnosis. Is like a total tonal shift from comedy to like drama instantly. It's like,
Yeah,
damn, I was not expecting that.
but I think as well is that I don't think it works as well as I think it should because this character, for one, hasn't been seen for nearly 10 years.
Yeah,
Um, and also it's a character that we don't really care for. So this actually more comes across. Again, I'm going to sound horrible, and I do apologize if I do, but it sounds like a desperate attempt to make this character interesting and for people to care. Um, which I don't want to say that, especially like cancer hits like hard for me and like members of my family, but it didn't work here.
I wasn't expecting it, if I'm being honest. Like, I mean, hell, obviously we're going to be talking about spoilers, but we'll get to what actually happens a lot later on. I wasn't expecting
Well, I
it.
mean, we're doing spoilers, so you can do it now. I don't mind.
I was not expecting. I mean, obviously with Thor learning that she has cancer and that she's dying, and every time she wields the hammer, that yes, she gains the ability of strength and the healing powers of Mjolnir, but is also drained of the therapy she's going through, so it's actually killing her as well. And during the battle with Gore, she intervenes. Thor obviously realizes that, what have you done? Kind of thing. And then Marvel has a tendency to pull heartstrings. So
I mean, Debbie pulls at something.
it pulled the heartstrings
I
for
mean,
me
look,
because I like the film.
Well, here's the thing. Even I thought it was quite effective. And
Oh, yeah.
in retrospect, of course, it's going to end with her dying because
Yeah.
they're not going to have more of these films with Jane Foster as Thor. It's just not going to work. She isn't a strong enough character to warrant that, unfortunately. Actually, there's actually a major missed opportunity with this film, I think, especially with their breakup in Ragnarok. Well, not in Ragnarok, but their breakup is confirmed in Ragnarok, and it's like a throwaway joke. I actually think, even after this film, where it reveals their breakup was basically just comedy, I think it would have been more effective if she was diagnosed with cancer between Dark World and this, and then she's the one that breaks it off because of that, and she doesn't tell Thor why.
Yeah, I think that would have been.
I think that would have worked better.
A stronger structure in terms of plot for one.
Yeah,
I mean that whole thing of why they broke up was just a bit like naff, really.
Yeah, because it is purely for comedy, like in all the flashbacks and stuff. And I was like, I don't buy this at all. Like, I don't buy him going to
I wasn't too
house
keen on
parties
them, to be
and
honest.
dressing
I really
up.
wasn't.
And like sitting on a couch and I don't get that.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I see why they had to do it, but it's pretty obvious that it's just there's not exactly a humongous amount of thought put into it, as you say. Like, it would have been more sense if she was diagnosed with cancer during that time, the absence of her, and that's the reason why they broke up. That would mean it was stronger and more emotional, and then probably have more emotional investment into the character. Whereas, as you said, like, it's hard to be invested in this character because she's not too interesting of a character to begin with.
No, and even when she becomes Thor, which I don't like this thing where she gets powers of Thor and then immediately can fight like an absolute badass. Like, it's established in the original Thor that, he's been doing this for like hundreds and hundreds of years. I would have liked it if it was a little bit more janky. Although, I'm not going to lie, I do actually quite like, despite the fact I don't like the fact that Mjolnir is back already after being blown up. I do like the idea that she can throw Mjolnir and then it just splits up into a load of pieces to attack a load of things and then come back together. That's actually quite cool.
Yeah,
I quite like that.
Some people really don't like that. I thought that was super cool because it would just be daft. Like, if the hammer was just totally and utterly repaired, like, it would make more sense just to keep it the way it was and have it do that really awesome thing. It's a superhero film after all. Like, you're gonna need something cool like that, I think is the word.
Yeah. And it definitely looked cool. I mean, like, especially visually, which is something I can't really say for a lot of the visual effects in this film. I think this film actually looks quite shoddy in places. Which is weird because I know that, so, bit of context. So this was shot using the same technology that was used in The Mandalorian and The Batman with the LED screens along the back instead of green screen. But it isn't the same set because this thing was shot in Australia, so it was apparently a much bigger set.
Yeah.
And it looks wildly different. It never looks real. I know some people said, is it not just because it's a different cinematographer? I'm like, no, because there's different cinematographers in Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, and those shows look impeccable. This just looked all over the place. Like, there was some bits, I can't remember the specifics, but there's certain moments where it looks worse than actual green screen. It's ridiculous, especially for a film that's from 2022, and I know people will always use the logic, oh, well, I mean, it was shot during COVID, you need to give it some slack. Again, the Batman was shot in COVID, and you would never know because it looks impeccable. I mean, I'm not sure how you feel on the visual side of things.
I mean, there's times that I think it's a little ropey, a little bit. But again, that's just because I liked it and I was more interested in the actual story rather than like picking apart the visual effects. I mean, one thing I noticed though with the visual effects was the bit with Zeus, and when it does like the bigger shots, it's pretty obvious that it's like screen, especially like the exterior and stuff. It's pretty obvious it's a screen because you can really see the CG in it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, some of them are. It's definitely some of the effects are much better than some of the other stuff. But as I say, like I was too interested in the actual story rather than the visual effects. So I didn't really pay much attention to it, in all honesty. Just sort of invested in what was actually happening.
I mean, I know it was quite difficult for me just because I both couldn't take it seriously, but I also couldn't find anything funny, in particular with that comedy. So I mentioned before about this subplot involving Jane Foster. After she starts wielding Mjolnir, she's trying to come up with a superhero catchphrase.
Oh, yes.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but superheroes haven't had catchphrases since 1989 with I'm Batman. Tell me I'm wrong. I haven't heard anything else. Like, the only things that have catchphrases these days is Doctor Who, which even then they've kind of done away with.
Yeah, I mean, catchphrases with superheroes just feels like a very outdated thing. It's just so unnecessary.
Oh, yeah.
You do not need them. Like, it's something you would see in, like, the old Superman, Batman films. Or, like, I mean, like, Batman, I wouldn't really say it's a catchphrase, so to speak. It's just the nature of it. I mean, like, Christian Bale says, I'm Batman. You know? Michael Keaton, I'm Batman. It's the same thing, so I wouldn't really
George
say
Clooney,
it's just a
I'm Batman.
catchphrase. Like...
Yeah, it just...
A catchphrase would be something like what is being used in Thor, which is like... I can't even remember what it is. It's like, eat my hammer or something like that.
Eat my hammer, yeah. I was like... all of a sudden, I'm really glad you didn't tell us what her final catchphrase was, because I don't want to know what it is.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be even worse.
I thought it was a little cringy, I'm not going to lie. I was like, ugh.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was one of the cringiest things in the entire film. I'm like, why are you giving it... Oh, actually, no, it's the second most cringiest thing in the film. The cringiest thing is the love triangle between Thor, his axe, and his hammer. Because now he's talking to the damn thing.
Do you know what it is, right? It's so stupid, but I laughed at that scene where Thor is obviously trying to reconnect with Mjolnir, and I can't say the name of the hammer.
And Stormbreaker just like appears, and I'm just
like it just slowly comes into the shot, and I was just like, oh my god. So the axe is now sentient. Okay.
Well, exactly that. It doesn't make any sense. I don't
It's just
get
the
it.
way that Thor is like staring, and then the axe just slowly comes in. It's like, we're just friends.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just calling you. I promise it was you. I was like, you've turned him into a
it's like even the scene
moron,
with
and
the
he was
boat.
never this.
Where they're on the boat in space, and he goes out to talk to the freaking thing. It's like, oh, for
And
God's
he strokes
sake.
it, and he pours beer onto it.
I
was
think
like,
it's
you
time
better,
you had your
you better
first
be careful.
beer.
It's probably going to
It's
set
like,
on fire.
Oh my god. So this thing can taste now? Yeah,
things about
there
Thor
are
I didn't
definitely
need to
some
know.
parts of that film that are really cringy.
I do have a question about Stormbreaker though, and that is, why is Stormbreaker the key to opening the gates of eternity when
I don't think it's
Stormbreaker's
ever
only
properly
existed
answered.
for like a couple of
I think
years?
it's just typical sort of villain stuff. They need this to do that. There's no real depth into why. It's like, well...
I mean, there's a lot of issues I've got with the ending, but, we can get to that. Let's talk about Gore the God Butcher, played by Christian Bale, who, as I say, absolutely terrific, suitably over the top when he needs to be, and even his origin is actually pretty effective. I know people have like really started to question like how much the Necro swords like how much that corrupts him from who he used to be, and I'm like I think it just amplifies it, which makes sense because in the
Yeah.
comics, the Necro sword is I don't know if it is a symbiote, but it is connected to the symbiotes.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Which would
Venom.
make sense, yeah.
Yeah, but then again, none of that is seen in this film, and I think are Marvel just deliberately not going near that now because Venom was really good for Dan. You know, the only person on the planet.
Well, correction, the first Venom film wasn't good to Dan, the second one was. I'm not going to mention his name in case you have a stroke.
I'll show you a fucking stroke. Of my Necro sword.
Yeah, I like the character without a doubt. The story behind the corruption of it, I think, is really well done. The whole belief and things like this, you know, like the gods have turned his back on him, so he becomes the destroyer of gods. I think that's pretty neat. It's an understandable hatred towards the gods. And
see, when you get to the
there's a good horror element to him. I think, especially when he starts to become more corrupted, and the thing with the eyes and stuff. It's ooh.
Oh,
and the shadow monsters. Ugh.
I do actually quite like the fact that when you get to the halfway point in the film, when they're in the God Cave, we're gonna call it. I don't know what it's called.
The God Cave.
And you realize that Thor loses his faith in the gods, and you're like, oh, actually, both Thor and Gore have the exact same arc now. They both lost their faith in a higher power, which is what I mean. I mentioned before how there's 2 films that I've watched this week that had like deal with faith. One of them being better, that being Benedetta over Thor, because it's very surface level. There was definitely a story there when it came to dealing with like never meet your heroes, essentially. Also, the whole Gate of Eternity thing felt very Doctor Who. Like, it sounded like so utterly ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm
and
also
again,
now
like,
starting
why
to question...
Stormbreaker is the key to it. I don't think it's ever truly explained.
But also it's the fact that now all of a sudden everything's now going to be undone with a wish, and I'm like, do not tell me you're doing Wonder Woman 1984 with Thor. Wonder Woman 1980 Thor.
Woman 1980 Thor.
I mean, I also, in fact, actually, I think I gave that film the exact same rating as this. To be honest, I gave it a 2 out of 5. Spoilers. Yeah, I'm savage on this one. I just, but then I'm like, okay, so why the hell? But I was like, why the hell didn't Thanos just go there instead of like collecting like
a bunch of gems,
couple of glowy rocks to? Yeah. I had just like a bunch of midget gems to put in his mitten. Like, why didn't he just go to the cave of infinity or whatever and earn his wish for half of all life to vanish?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not plausible. But,
there's definitely some issues within that film. Definitely not as much as, well, as I say, like, I like the film, so obviously I didn't see issue after issue after issue, unlike you. But again, that's just down to personal taste. But it's understandable, though, because there are times in that film, I mean, go back to the bit with the gods, right? And where Thor's like, well, you know, maybe we are misguided, etc. That's my Thor impression there. It's literally the same arc as Gore. The gods have it's just literally the same arc, but one of them is the good guy, supposedly.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I don't actually mind that. I don't mind having parallels between the hero and the villain. That actually works really well. It isn't, again, in this instance, it's very surface level, so it doesn't really amount to much.
No, it's just there, really. It's just to sort of push the story along, or in this case, the space boat along.
Fuck those space goats. I fucking hate those space goats, I swear to God.
I found it funny to start with, and then I was like, this is somewhat overused now. Because it was getting really
the closest I got to chuckling in the films was whenever they crash landed somewhere and you just hear one of them scream.
Yeah.
As if, we are here! I didn't mind that one, that was alright. obviously the actual end of the film.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really curious on what you think of this one because I thought this was just completely ridiculous. Thor now looking after the kid, who is half of the title of this film.
Yeah.
Where the hell did that come from?
I mean, it's different.
The script,
I'll give it
obviously,
that. But, like, why is it a thing, though?
Yeah,
Like, there's not really an explanation to why he takes this kid. It's just like, God just literally says, like, look after her. But, like, Thor has no obligation to look after her. He just does it because he has no one else, supposedly. I mean, he obviously loses Jane because she turns into speckled dust and goes off to Valhalla. Well, one of the end credit scenes anyway, with Heimdall.
I'm not happy with that at all.
And, of course,
you were doing so well.
Do you know what I found really amusing, though? Was the scene in the God Palace, whatever, I can't remember its bloody name. I'm going to think of several names for this now. Is where Zeus removes his disguise and Thor... Well, Korg at that point is now just bisexual. Because he seems pretty interested in nude Thor. And then it's obviously revealed at the end that Thor... That Korg is... Korg gets a lover called Dwayne, I think?
I don't know. It's so weird.
I think it's Dwayne because there's like a little scene of the little thing that he talks about. It's like in order to make a little rock baby, you have to go down into a cave and touch arms or something for a week next to a lava pool, or something like that. But yeah, there was something like that.
Is weird.
It was interesting. It certainly is, but as I say, the Korg stuff was much better in Ragnarok. So much better.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Valkyrie.
In fact, yeah, Valkyrie as well was better in Ragnarok than this. She doesn't really have much to do.
Yeah, she honestly really didn't have much. Like, she was only interesting to me in the part where they go to Zeus and the battle after, and then like she's obviously injured, and then she's sent back to New Asgard, and it's like, well,
oh yeah, she is conveniently absent from the rest of the film because she has an ouchie.
It's just like, oh, we've lost one of our strongest warriors. We'll be fine, guys.
Yeah, there's this film has like a really, I mean, it's an issue with the MCU in general, but they have a really major issue when it comes to sacrificing people staying dead. Loki, gratefully, isn't in this film, thank God. I was fully expecting him to pop up at some point.
I was honestly expecting one of the end credits to be Loki themed, but it wasn't, and I'm sort of glad that it wasn't.
To be honest, I'm actually quite glad that this isn't like a multiverse kind of thing, because I'm kind of multiversed out at this point.
Multiversed out.
I'm quite happy for them. Wow. But yeah, like anyone that dies in this has just come back in a couple of scenes. Like, I honestly thought that Korg had actually died about halfway through, and then no, he's just a talking head, well, a talking face for the rest of the film.
And then he just grows again, which I find really weird.
And then Jane dies, and it's quite effective. And then in the final end credits scene, she comes back in Valhalla, as does bloody Heimdall. I'm like, don't you? Like, yeah, he's killed off incredibly quickly in Infinity War, but that's kind of the point. Like you can't give everyone a heroic send off. That's kind of the point of Thanos. He takes absolutely zero prisoners, and unfortunately, one of them's going to be Loki, and the other one's going to be Heimdall. I was quite happy to just have him be gone.
Yeah.
But then I think as soon as his son is suddenly there, I'm like, oh damn it, you're gonna have him at some point, aren't you now? Like,
mini Heimdall. So it's like whether or not they just make it Heimdall Part 2, really. Because he says he's got like his eye magic and everything with Korg's narration or whatever toward the end of the film, that he's got like his magic eyesight and stuff. So it's like, well, is he gonna become the new Heimdall?
Can I just say though, is that there's that shot of just like his face is sort of like a weird vision thing that appears when they're in New Asgard. This is a film with a $250 million budget, and that shot looks absolutely terrible. I was like, where the hell has this kid just come from? Like who the hell is this? But yeah, back to the kid thing. So the kid's called Love, and now Thor's just going to be called Thunder. and then all of a sudden the title pops up. I'm like, are you really giving us a reason for why the film is called what it is? You don't need to do that.
You see, I was always curious about why they named it Love and Thunder. Like, I just think that's such a weird title.
All of a sudden now, I really want every single previous MCU film to have some sort of reference to the title. But you can't really do that, especially... but it's so... Again, I just cringed. I was like, I don't know what this is. And again, like, you know, it is what it is. But then the other post-credits scene, I barely mentioned Zeus in this, played by Russell Crowe. Is he Greek or is he Italian? I don't know which one.
Yeah, I wasn't convinced by the accent, like, and I thought the whole bloody thing of you have Zeus, the mighty god, and he's killed off so easily. Well, he's supposedly killed off, and then we realise in the end credit that he's alive and well.
And now he's sending his son Hercules to go and do his dirty work. I'm like,
yeah,
I don't want to see this. Like, it's actually the first time that they've set up like a future film with or future appearance with Thor. I've got no interest in it. I don't want to see Thor versus Hercules. I've got no interest in that. I've got no interest in Thor and his adopted daughter with a graffitied me.
Because honestly, that post credit scene to me is just going to be like what it was in the film itself, where it's just Thor versus somebody, and it's like Thor versus Hercules. If they do it, it's like, well, why should I care?
Yeah.
Do I want to care?
And, you know, and as I say, for like the majority of the film, I just didn't care. I'll end my thoughts on this actually. I've referenced this in my written review. When I came out of the cinema, the first thing I actually thought of was actually a line from Star Trek Beyond, film I actually really like. There's a moment at the beginning of that film when Captain Kirk is doing his captain's log thing, and he uses this line, which is perfect for this film. Things are starting to feel a little episodic.
Fix it.
This feels like pure filler to get to something else. The something else of which I've got no interest in. This is probably one of the most disappointing films I've seen all year. As I say, I think it's the worst film in the MCU. I don't really want to rewatch this, nor do I really want to watch Eternals. Look, it might change. Maybe it'll go slightly up, but this would have to do something utterly inconceivable.
Yeah.
And right now, I can't think of anything
what it is?
beyond
Like,
performances and a
I
decent
just
score.
can't get over the fact that they've just turned Stormbringer into a sentient being now.
Oh, I hate that.
I just can't believe it. Like, as I say, like, in the cinema, like, me and my girlfriend were sat there, and like all of a sudden, there's just this little axe head that starts coming to the shot. I'm like, okay, so you've got this relationship with Jane Foster, but you've also got the side piece of Stormbringer and Korg too. Decisions.
All of a sudden,
decisions.
all of a sudden, in Captain America 4, if we don't have an opening scene with Sam Wilson and the Shield literally talking, I'm going to be very disappointed, because this is the kind of universe that this thing is setting up. Now we're going to have inanimate objects being characters.
I know. Oh no. Hopefully it won't be though, because as sort of silly and daft as it was, like it was just getting ridiculous. Like that boat scene in particular, like giving it a beer and talking to it to like assure it that like you're its priority is just stupid. Like, I know it's a pretty silly film, but come on.
I want to eat the fez now. It looks tasty. But yes, that is our thoughts on Thor: Love and Thunder. I do apologise, Dan, if I've bitterly disappointed you or ruined a part of the film.
To be honest, I kind of knew you wouldn't like it. I was expecting at least like a 3 or a 2.5 at least, but turns out I was majorly wrong. And I got the bombshell of that it's worse than Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and it's worse than Eternals, the most hated MCU film of all time.
Yeah. I mean, again, it could change. Maybe there'll be a bit of it that does change. Because honestly, in retrospect, I can't actually remember much from Eternals that's actually interesting. So it might be slightly above, but currently, no, it's not. Because at least with Eternals, I wasn't disappointed because I didn't give a damn before the film was even released anyway, so there was nothing to disappoint. But yes, that has been our thoughts on Thor: Love and Thunder. Full spoilers, in case you didn't realise, despite I told you plenty of times on this time codes, which I also told you about, so didn't be getting angry at me. Next week, we will be returning, I believe, yes, we are returning to the Doctor Who universe with the one I want to talk about, which is Series 5.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to talk about this. I've got so many things to say. But yes, thank you very much for listening to our slightly delayed episode. Our regular programming will resume next Monday. Thank you, everyone, and take care.